We would be nowhere without our title sponsor here at the 618 High School Huddle, and that is, of course, Chick-fil-A out of Fairview Heights. When you think of good food and high school sports, Chick-fil-A is the first thing to come to mind. Think about the O'Fallon Shootout, the Highland Shootout, the great Bevel East tournament that is held every year, and lots of great events. Go to a football game and see what you find there. You're going to find Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A in Fairview Heights, 6203 North Illinois Street, right there in the heart of Fairview Heights. Guess what? It's Sunday night. They're not open. They care about their family. And speaking of families, the first family of prep sports in this area, in my opinion, is the Holmes family. 3 Division I athletes coming out of that family. Pretty special deal. Dave's always been very generous with his time and everything at Chick-fil-A, and we really appreciate him being the title sponsor of the 618 High School Huddle.
One-time world's heavyweight champion Danny Pounder's here. And when the Pound Man puts his name on something, you know it's the very best. So anytime you see that 618 High School Huddle scroll across your marquee, just remember, you're listening to the #1 podcast in all the world.
Welcome to the 618 High School Huddle, hosted by Jim Thompson, Scott Warren, and AJ Thompson. And as you just heard, we are proud to announce that this is the #1 podcast in all the land.
No, it's not.
Shut up, man. It sounds better when I say it this way. The #1 podcast in all the land.
Nope, not even close.
Shut up, man. The #1 podcast is the 618 High School Huddle, and here we go.
Not even in the top 100,000.
Welcome to the 618 High School Huddle, hosted by BigRedWorld.org. Feels like a long time since we've done a show.
Like a day.
Oh yeah, we just did a show. We were fortunate enough to set up shop at nice, calm, balmy Columbia High School.
Nope.
No? Well, it was, okay, it wasn't balmy, but it was at least not calm.
Nope.
Yeah, my phone blew off the thing. I had to get a new phone, not because of that, but
I tape it down.
we had to tape the phone down. It was sitting on a tripod.
Yeah.
It just kept going, so we actually had to use athletic tape, and I think we're going to have to wash the old 618 High School Huddle thing at some point.
Get AJ stains off of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
Pizza boy.
So this is Sunday night. It's the calm after the storm of round 1 of the IHSA State Football Bonanza that we love so much. It's, to me, it's the best pure playoff system in that the IHSA puts out. No offense to basketball, to baseball, to golf, to anything like that, but you don't just get to be in because you have a football team.
Right.
You got to qualify, or you have to go on strike, and then a judge has to allow you in.
Yeah.
After you have already been turned down by the IHSA Appeals Board, and then you go to the judge, and then the judge says you can play. So that's another way. But other than that...
Yeah, you got to earn it.
But anyway, and by the way, Public League, way to show up. I think you guys got 2 victories out of 19.
But you know what? I mean, considering that they hadn't really practiced or anything for a few weeks, that was not totally unexpected.
Yeah, and that's, I'm being kind of mean.
No, but
to your point, it's just kind of frustrating, and I think I'm more frustrated at the cross country situation. Those of you who don't know what we're talking about, the IHSA, the Chicago Public League went on strike. They were on for almost 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And as we said in last week's show, they kept moving the goal line, so to speak. Well, hey, if you're not in school by Tuesday, you guys are out. Wait a minute. You know what?
let's rethink this.
If you're not in by Wednesday,
right,
you guys are out. Oh, hold on a second. I'll tell you what. Friday. So it's literally like when you tell your kids, don't cross that line.
Right.
Well, hold on. Let me move the line.
Yeah.
You can't do that because it just opens you up. Like I think you used the term yesterday, Pandora's box. So they settled the strike. Thank goodness. They're back in school Friday. But the cross-country teams that had qualified missed regionals. They legitimately missed regionals.
Yeah.
Well, sorry.
okay.
I'm sorry. It happens. 56 volleyball teams didn't get to play either.
Or soccer teams.
A lot of soccer teams had to forfeit. So the cross-country kids, I guess, got representation, got a lawyer. Maybe one of the dads is a lawyer. And
Wait, as a whole or as like individual schools?
no, all the public league schools.
Right, okay.
Yeah, as a whole. Went to a judge and said, hey, put us in the sectionals.
Okay. Even though you didn't qualify, we'll put you all in the sectional.
Did they qualify for the regional?
Everybody qualifies for the regional.
Oh, okay.
Right? Remember, it's like
So
everything.
football's the only one that I'm...
Right.
Right.
So everybody's in the regional, but they didn't get to perform in the regional. They didn't get to
So
run.
they didn't qualify for the section.
Right.
Right.
But they let them in.
So on Friday morning, now the sectionals are Saturday morning.
Yeah.
On Friday morning, they had to notify X number of sectionals, whatever it was. Hey, you know how you're going to have 126 runners? Well, we're going to change that. It's going to be 153. And we're also going to add a few teams in there too. So our issue is, what about those teams that did not win in the regional,
Yeah.
right? Didn't qualify for sectionals. And now all of a sudden, all the public league teams get a free pass. And one team and 15 individuals are going to state now.
Can I make a devil's advocate argument?
Absolutely.
You can try.
Well, right.
It won't, it's not going to go well for you, but go ahead.
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean I believe it or don't believe it, but here we go. What would you say about a senior who deserved to be there and you knowingly know that they deserve to be there, but they were unfortunately unallowed to perform at a regional because of the school strike?
Yeah, it sucks.
It's bad. It's just a bad deal. I feel for the
It
kids.
totally sucks.
Yeah, I feel for the kids. Just like I feel for all the volleyball players, excuse me, and softball players.
Hey,
or soccer
hold on
players.
just a second. Do you have a microphone?
Yes, I'm using this. I'm gonna.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Didn't you think that was a little funny that you
Yeah.
didn't have a microphone?
Yeah.
All right.
But no, just like I feel.
realized I could cut it off that last week.
Oh, that's great.
I'm gonna just.
I feel
Sorry.
for the volleyball players, the soccer players, everybody else. I mean, it's just a bad deal that the teachers were not when they did.
But that is part of what gives the union some leverage,
Yeah.
right? And of course, football carried the day, and they obviously settled this thing in time for these 19 football teams to make it and pretty much get their heads kicked in. But nonetheless, Colin, I'm afraid, first of all, as a guy who was raised in a union household and a guy that originally worked was union represented, not successfully, I would say that too bad. It is what it is, right? That's just the breaks.
Right.
And because the fact is that the IHSA has rules.
Do they though anymore? I
Oh,
mean,
no,
I'm
they
saying
do.
they have rules, but do they matter?
Not when someone can take
because
you to
they have
court.
been. I mean, right? They essentially lost on every front.
And
in the last-
every
I agree.
judge should stay out of it and just
But
refer
that's-
it back to the IHSA. And here's another thing. So if my team lost in the regional, I'm going to take you to court.
See, and that's the thing too. Now, the IHSA, honestly, in my opinion, means nothing. If you can be overruled by someone else, and why?
Well,
not
be
take
careful.
them
We
out?
have credentials for the state tournament. The opinions expressed by Colin Kessler are not shared by the high school huddle or any of its affiliates.
Well,
But you get they've been undermined. I mean, this isn't even a shot at them.
Yeah,
But
no,
there's no
completely,
reason to go.
totally undermined.
completely.
There's
Yeah.
no reason
Right.
to go to the IHSA. You just say, well, I'm going to get a judge to back me.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
So these cross country kids, there was one girl that kind of spoke for them, and I thought she was very well spoken. I mean, she's not as crazy as Greta or whatever her name is from the internets, but yeah, she was very well spoken. And they originally went to the IHSA and said, "Hey, we want to appeal your rules."
Yeah.
And the IHSA did exactly what they should do. No.
yeah, we have
The rules are rules. That's why they're there. Now, down the road, maybe we'll look at some differences, and that's how things get changed, right?
Right.
I'm telling you right now, in baseball, obstruction is going to be reviewable next year. Guaranteed, after what happened to Trey Turner. And that garbage call in the World Series, which, thank God, it didn't cost
That's a tough-
Washington.
What are you going to... Okay, I won't get into that argument.
No,
I would be curious to hear your thoughts.
yeah, absolutely. Apparently, a lot of people are. I had people coming up to me at volleyball the other day asking my opinion. I said, "What? What do I know?"
I don't know. What
I think it's because we have a show.
Oh.
Kind of a big deal.
Okay.
But the point is that you're right. So to your point, Colin, yes, the IHSA has been stripped of its governing authority. And I thought we've been frustrated by some of the rules about transferring and the open borders within Chicago city limits and some of the things that are happening. And I used to get frustrated at the IHSA. It's really not probably the IHSA. I mean, they're probably doing what they can, but they know they're going to get taken to court. And now they've lost twice in Chicago Cook County court.
Yeah.
Just, I'm not saying which way they lean, but it's a little bit of this arm. And how will that look on there? Will that be my left arm on the TV?
I think people can decipher left from right.
Arm, it'd still be your left
Yeah.
arm.
Okay. But they've
Let's
lost
not get into a
twice.
Three Stooges skit here. By left and right.
I try to think and nothing happens. But it's frustrating to me that the football teams got the goalposts or the goal line moved. Now you've got this cross country nonsense. I'm telling you right now, if I'm the father and I have any juice at all of a Chicago Public League volleyball team, I'm in court tomorrow morning.
Right. But the runner situation to me is a little bit different because I feel like you can line a bunch of runners up against each other and you could.
No, but I said that yesterday.
Sure.
That's what made this work, right? Is 20 more runners or 30 more runners, big deal. They all run at the same time, right?
But if I'm a team or if I'm a runner that got beat in the regionals, I'm going to court. I'm going to court. Now, I may not win, but I'm gonna make the point that it was absurd that you allowed this to happen to begin with.
Now, here's the other thing I also think you have to consider. To your point, if you don't allow this, then what is the correction for this down the road? Do you allow student athletes to play even if their school's not in session because that's not their fault?
Yeah, that's a slippery slope.
And that's probably where we're headed, right? Because of these two defeats in court.
Right.
I think what the IHSA rule should be is that, because at the end of the day, the school was in session on Friday. They lost because they missed the regional, right? I think you're almost going to have to say in individual sports, certain sports, like cross country, and I don't know if there's anything like cross country, maybe golf, I don't know if golf. No, because tennis you play head to head.
Right, but I think.
So once you're past regionals, you can't play any, cross country is probably about swimming, maybe. Maybe swimming where you're running against mostly. Like I know when I've gone to watch Max swim, he doesn't. Yes, he wants to beat everybody, but at the end of the day, there's a time you have to hit to go to state.
Yeah.
Right.
And once he hits that time, even if 15 people beat him or he beats 15 people, he knows he's in. He qualified for state. So maybe those two sports.
There's a better solution to that. I mean, if there's certain times that you have to hit to qualify for every level, then.
Well, here's the problem. A swimming pool is 50 meters.
Yeah.
Okay, some are just 25, but go ahead. Shit. You're fine. Olympic-sized pool's 50 meters. You're right.
All right. Well, I thought they were all the same. But the point is, a 50-meter IM or a 200-meter IM is all the same.
Okay.
It's all the same distance. All cross-country tracks are not the same for a couple of reasons. One, they aren't all 2.8 miles.
Yeah.
Some are 3, some are 3.1. They also don't all have the same elevation. You don't have the same amount of sometimes you're running on grass, sometimes you're running on asphalt, sometimes you're running on concrete, sometimes you're on rocks. So you can't establish a base time because the fields are all different. It would be like having all golfers, if you shoot one under, you make it.
Yeah.
Well, you can't do that if you're playing a par. It's a much harder thing to do at a par 70 than a par 72. So that's not the answer. Now the answer might be that you take these kids and you let them run and you assign them to that course, the same course that they did at the regional, and you say, hey, if you finish in the top 10, you're in.
How about the courts just stay out of it and we go?
But that's not.
Let the IHSA rules.
Fantasy land.
I'm just saying.
Right, but fantasy land.
Heaven forbid we would, because this scenario, and I'm with you on your point about cross country being a little unique. This is opening the wagon gate and the horses are leaving. You're going to have.
The horses are gone.
You're going to have this situation come up, and forget about a strike, and there's going to be different scenarios where people are going to claim that they deserve to do this or do that. This is just the beginning, guys. I mean, watch and see what happens.
But here's the biggest problem with this for me. This is a bunch of adults yelling at a bunch of adults about what you can do with kids.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think if you actually care about allowing these kids to compete in sports, then to a certain extent, if adults are fighting with adults about whether or not they should be in school or what, I'm not going to try to get into the semantics of the teacher strike, but whatever you're arguing about that keeps the kids out of school, that shouldn't keep them out of athletics. Like, that just doesn't.
Okay, but then my argument to that, and I happen to agree with you. I think at some point we're going to get to a point where that's not going to matter. But there's a couple things you need to consider. So let's say that a school is on strike going into the first week of the playoffs, kind of like we just had.
Yeah.
Who's running practice?
I would assume it would be a coach, but if it can't be.
Okay, well, it can't be a coach. They're on strike.
Can't cross picket line.
So you're gonna reach out to a parent, right, or to somebody qualified that.
But assistant coaches aren't on the payroll, are they?
Well, sure they are. Most
Now
are.
some might not be teachers.
Now, they may not be union.
Right, they may not be.
If you know this rule is coming into effect, then you also have a volunteer that sticks with us all year.
That volunteer going to cross the picket line?
Why would they? They would, if they're a volunteer, they wouldn't be a paid member of the staff, would they?
Okay. You don't think there's going to be any heat in the community for him crossing the picket line to coach when the teachers are walking out?
I think.
Here's the thing. Don't take this the wrong way. This is age and inexperience. What you don't realize is this is a bargaining chip for the union, right? Being out.
Yeah.
Taking away the playoffs. If you take that away from them and you say, well, even though we're out of school, the kids can still participate in athletics. If I'm a hardcore union member, I'm going to be pissed at every guy that goes out there and tries to run a practice.
See, I guess I understand what you're saying, and I get the bargaining chip side of it, but I'm coming at it from my perspective 3 years removed from high school.
As a kid.
Oh,
Right.
sure.
As an athlete.
Right.
And I totally get that. I don't mean kid. That's not the term. It's the wrong term. As a student athlete.
But it's fairly straightforward. And I understand that it's not perfectly straightforward and all this, but if what drives you keeping kids out of school in the first place is being able to then control who does what so that you can achieve a certain outcome that doesn't really necessarily benefit the kids so much, I mean.
Well, in this case it did though, Colin. And most strikes tend to benefit the kids, and here's how. Yeah, you say, well, wait a minute, they're just asking for more money. Okay, well, a higher teacher salary is going to eventually get you a higher quality of teacher. That's going to benefit the kids.
Really?
Hold on. Listen, you got to play in Fantasyland. I get to play in Fantasyland.
You're not even in Fantasyland, but go ahead.
Secondly,
Go ahead.
one of the things they're fighting for was more assistant coaching positions.
Yeah.
There's not enough paid assistant coaches in the Chicago Public League. Everybody has to volunteer to help out.
Well, there's a few schools around here they could get them from.
Right. Some schools have 15.
Oh, okay.
But the point is, that was the thing. Class size, resources, the fact that, some of these people were talking about their rooms don't have heat. And so they have to move, as soon as it gets cold outside, they have to move their classroom.
So why not go on strike for that, not money?
Well, that was all. There was a whole list of
But here-
I
demands.
understand, but leave the money out of it.
Here's
If you're
what-
really doing it for the kids.
Here's what I think, though, is getting missed.
Fantasyland.
You can negotiate these things, and it doesn't have to go to a strike. You can still allow these teachers to be in school and negotiate.
They did that.
Yeah,
They've been negotiating since August.
Okay, but that gets back to my point. If the grown adults cannot agree on something and feel like they have to then start taking kids out of school and not allowing them to go to school or compete in the athletic events that they've worked their entire life for, because you guys can't sit down in a room and come to an agreement on something that is mutually beneficial for those kids, then that should not be the kid's problem.
Correct.
Well, it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, but it happens that's how the chips fall.
But who are you mad at? The teachers or the city of Chicago?
I would say I'm equally mad at both. I don't know. I mean,
I think that's fair.
I have a bone to pick with. I just
No,
think
but
I think that's
I
fair.
think it's stupid that you can't sit down together and be like, all right, well, what do you really need? And here's what we can
Right.
give you. How do we find somewhere and go? Like,
Right.
It just doesn't work that way. Again, that's fantasy land.
No, but
The
I think
fact
that's a
is-
fair point to sit there and say there's equal blame on both sides.
Oh, that I totally agree with. And are there probably bad teachers in the city of Chicago and the public schools? You bet there are. There's also really bad on the administration side and on the school side, the people that control the money. Their job is to get these teachers to come to work for as little as possible. That's what's wrong with the education system. What can I pay and keep this place open?
You're also talking about kids that probably wouldn't, I don't want to say that they probably wouldn't, but we've all seen the documentaries and stuff like that where there's kids that talk about sports keeping them in school. And
I understand that.
go to school. So if you're going to say that the one thing that they don't want to go to do, which is school, because of that, they're not being allowed to play their favorite sport because those kids don't play football in the summer. There's not football select leagues or anything like that.
No, that's actually a little incorrect, but
well, it might be.
there are.
Well,
they play all summer.
Right.
I mean, they go to 7-on-7 camps.
stuff.
East St. Louis.
I'm not talking like they're not full blown like.
No, they're not playing
like
actual
the
11-on-11 pass
stuff.
Yeah, kind of is.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. East St. Louis gets invited to tournaments all over the country in the summer. And they go down to Alabama, to the University of Alabama, and they win that thing almost every year.
Yeah.
Tremendous prestige. That's where they make contacts with Under Armour and Adidas and these people.
Well, that makes sense. Then.
And they get, right.
That's where they get.
I got no issues. No issues with it because it funds that remarkable program. Well, here's what we're going to do. We'll table this a little bit. I have a couple of other thoughts on it, but instead of wasting the whole show talking about a place that's 300 miles from here, the bottom line is it's a frustrating situation. I don't want to see student athletes miss either. We'll talk more about what actually happened on the field for a change when we come right back. You're listening to and watching the 618 High School Huddle, hosted by BigRedWorld.org. Proud sponsor since day one of the 618 High School Huddle, Mandy McGuire with Keller Williams Realty Group. The Mandy McGuire Group, nobody in the area does it better. If you're looking to sell a home, if you're looking to buy a home, Mandy has all the answers. She has the best professionals. Nobody's more engaged than she is throughout the entire process. One of our co-hosts, Scott, has personal experience with that. She sold his home in 24 hours. And that's the guarantee she'll give. All right, no, she won't do that. She can't sell a house in 24 hours, but she can come close. She's just almost that good. Mandy McGuire Realty, movewithmandy.com. Nobody in the area is better in the real estate game. Well, I can't welcome people back when I'm listening to Cam up there snoring so loud. And he's not only up the stairs, but he's into the kitchen.
Yeah. Hey, I've been dealing with it for 10 years, so I'm immune to it.
And next time he pulls that nonsense that I saw last night when I was hanging out here,
again,
I want that on video.
Again, well, I got the recording. I told you that.
No, not that one.
Oh.
I'm talking about the stuff with his bed.
Oh,
They're trying to fold the bed in half. What the heck?
Yeah.
All right, we are back, and now we want to get into the strike stuff aside and all that. We are now into the second round of the IHSA Football Playoffs. Volleyball is headed to the sectionals. We've got the 1A state soccer champion has been crowned. We'll get into that here in a little bit. But let's first talk about the game that we were at, that all of us, we'll talk a little bit about your game and also the game we were at. We checked out the Columbia-Roxana game. It was an attractive first-round matchup for us because we had to drive about 6 minutes, which I liked. And the fact is that the Columbia, since this became a thing, which really was week 2, thank you, Mr. Coppert, we got to keep giving props where props are due.
Hey, I told him we would, but just don't.
Do you think does he work out?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. John did a great job of kind of putting the seat in, but that was after we'd already been to Columbia,
right?
And so the Columbia fans are kind of clamoring. And I'm sorry, I didn't want to go watch them play Carlisle.
No.
I didn't want to watch them play Westland, no offense. They blew everybody out of the water. It didn't make much sense for us to go. So yesterday we got to see Columbia play Roxana. It's a 9-0 team versus a 5-4. But if you all heard Scott Horner on our show Wednesday night from Hopskeller, hey, this is an opponent you got to take seriously. You know, they're quick, and they run a kind of an ancient offense. And I don't mean that as a shot. It's ancient in that you just don't see it very much anymore to see that wing tee style.
Right.
And, you know, he was legitimately concerned. And some of it was Scott Horner. being Scott Horner. What I don't think he was prepared for was the amount of felonies that were committed during that game. Listen, here's the deal, Colin. If kids are getting arrested at a soccer game, the state police could have locked about 6 kids up in yesterday's football game. We saw more assault and battery after the whistle than I've seen the entire year.
What'd we say? 8 personal fouls and 3 unsportsmanlike in 2.5 quarters of football that we saw. Never seen anything like it before. Never.
And listen, Coach Horner is a very fiery coach, but typically his animation is almost always aimed at the kids.
Yeah.
Hey, I need this, I need that. Get your head in the game. How many times you heard him say, "Get your head in the game"?
Right.
And he's in total control there. But he really got frustrated in the first half with the officiating to the point where an IHSA official who was on the sideline, I think they have an oversight guy at every playoff game, he went after him and said, "Go ahead."
No, I was just going to say, and after about the second time of doing that, the guy backed up and was standing
left.
behind the end zone.
Went to the end of the end zone so he wouldn't have to talk to Scott anymore. You know, Scott's point was, I'm frustrated, with the way they're calling this game. I'm also frustrated by the fact that they don't seem to know the rules. Now,
And they had no control of what was going on.
here's what the officials would say to you. We're never going to get to talk to them, although we do know their names.
Yeah, we do.
But I think the officials would say, we called it that way because we wanted to maintain control.
Nonsense.
What they did is exacerbate things and made it way worse. And most of those personal fouls and unsportsmanlike conducts were in the first half. I think we saw one in the third quarter.
Right.
And we hope that this is not the case, but Sam Horner, coach's son, the wide receiver, also plays on defense, outstanding athlete, great kid. He's in a sling midway through the first quarter. Pads are off, arms up here, and he's going to have some tests done. This kid he may be done. Now, I hope it's not the case. You hope there's some overreaction there and that he
Precautionary.
got a little bit of a tweak. Even if he had a separated shoulder, they could get that back in. He's going to hurt. It's going to hurt like heck. But he might be able, especially as a receiver, he might be able to play a little bit. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, no offense, I don't think they needed Sam yesterday.
No.
I mean, you and I could have probably suited up and beaten that team. But that dirty play that occurred at the hands of Roxana, those kids didn't just learn to do that yesterday.
No.
And it's so bad that I had people coming up to me today that have nothing to do with Columbia football, have nothing to do with Roxana football, and weren't even at the game, and had heard through their coaching circles at how ugly that game was and how brutal these were shots, not just after the whistle, but the one happened, you were already tweeting out the score, so you're looking down, and my phone was dead, and you're looking down, tweeting, and I looked up, and this kid, after 5 seconds after the whistle, just knocks a Columbia kid senseless. And I don't know if that's what happened to Sam. We didn't see it, but man, Roxana, clean your act up.
Well, that's a complete embarrassment. Their coaches should be embarrassed. Their fans should be embarrassed.
Here's the deal: you have got to quit saying that.
That's just how I feel.
Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because they're not embarrassed. There's not a chance they're embarrassed.
Then that's a shame.
Should they be embarrassed? Yes, but they're not. To the point where their coaches were screaming that they were getting screwed.
Yeah.
And their fans were screaming. I get it. Fans are morons, most of them. But it was clear. That one kid, I'm not going to say his number. I'm not going to do it like I did the other night. But one kid clearly had roid rage. He
had an issue.
And they were having trouble controlling him. Yeah. But he stayed in the game. Kept playing.
Right.
Now, they took him out for a couple of plays because he got dinged up. And he was right back in there.
But that's everything that's wrong. We talk about, we try to focus on what's right. That's what's wrong with today. that there's no accountability. There should be an administrator or two that should be, hopefully was there and is embarrassed and is going to do something about it. I'm with you that I highly doubt that that'll happen, but 8 personal fouls and 3 unsportsmanlike in 2.5 quarters of a playoff game.
It's 11 15-yard penalty. Now, let's be fair.
Sure.
Some were offsetting. But that was the officials, I think,
Keeping Roxana
saying,
quiet.
you know what, to keep Roxana from losing her mind, I'm going to throw the flag on the Columbia kid too. They were both engaged and kind of pushing. The Columbia personal fouls did not start until midway through the second quarter. Now, when that happens, if you have any sense at all about athletics, and you see a team play clean for a full quarter and a half, and then all of a sudden start picking up personal fouls, there's one of two things happening. Either the officials are just trying to even the score, or 2, that team has finally lost their mind.
Mm-hmm.
We watched Eli Wagner get hit after the whistle time and time and time again. And at the end of the day, he's a 17 or 18-year-old kid. He's eventually going to snap. Now, I didn't see Eli snap.
No, but he
had had enough.
Yeah, he gave some back.
He had had enough of the chop blocks and the nonsense. Clean it up. Or here's the other thing you can do. Be glad you got into the playoffs at 5-4. There was a really one of my favorite things that came from the Columbia fan section. This is the best. They have a really active fan section. They don't ever say anything necessarily negative. They cheer in a way that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that. But it's not bad. It's not like they call people names. They yelled out to the Roxana kids right when they're right by the student section. This is the playoffs. The playoffs are supposed to be hard.
Yeah, you're supposed to be a good team.
You're supposed to be a good team. We're killing you. This is the way you're going to go out as seniors? Because at that point, I think it was 42-14 or 35-14.
It was bad.
And I thought, hats off to those kids. They do a great job. But it was an embarrassment. The right score occurred. Columbia ends up winning either 56-28 or 56-21, depending on how you read it. It's 56-28 posted to the IHSA website. So they will now travel in week 2. They've got to go 3 hours north. I think it's northeast of Peoria, well northeast, to Fairbury Prairie Central, a school that we only know the name of because that's who, when I was coaching at Westglen, that's who we beat in double overtime to win the state championship in 1990. So also in 4A, Effingham, no problem with Breeze Central. They win that game 55-13. And then if there was a bit of a surprise, it was Benton winning 8-7, the lowest scoring game in the state that I have seen so far. They win 8-7. And so now it sets up a second round where now in the second round it's cool because you've literally got 4 games in the north and 4 games in the south. You have Chillicothe, Illinois Valley Central is going to travel down to Murfreesboro. They are the #1 seed, by the way, in the South.
That'll be a good game.
And I think that's going to be fun. Tolano Unity, perennial powerhouse, plays at Kankakee Bishop McNamara. Remember them?
Yeah.
You've got.
I still haven't thought out.
That's a 4 seed versus a 12 seed. I would argue that I'm guessing the same coaches at McNamara, the guy that built the school in 1937.
He invented football.
Columbia will travel to Fairbury. It's a 2 seed versus a 10 seed. And then Benton travels to Effingham. A pair of 9-1 teams getting it on, a 6 seed versus a 3 seed. That one could be fun. And so if you want to look ahead to the quarterfinals, it's possible. I think we're kind of looking at a Columbia-Effingham matchup.
It should be a dandy.
And that game will actually be at Columbia, if I do the math right. Because Effingham hosted the first round. Effingham's hosting the second round.
Oh, well, yeah, then they have to travel.
So Columbia will be back home for the quarterfinals. And depending on who's still alive, we may or may not be there. We'll see what happens. So that's kind of the breakdown in 4A. In 3A, Mater Dei just
they had some fun.
Had a little bit of fun. A running clock against West Frankfort, just total domination, 56-0. Fairfield pounded Alton Marquette 36-8, and that's pretty much it for the 618 schools. So if you look ahead to the second round, you've got Breeze Mater Dei traveling to Fairfield. If we didn't have other commitments, that would be the game to go to. That's going to be a lot of fun because I think Fairfield at 10-0 is sitting there saying, hey, we're 10-0. and you're bringing this 9-1 team from Breeze Mater Dei to see us. They don't know what we can do. But Fairfield, I would argue, doesn't play a schedule like Mater Dei.
No, not even close.
So it'll be interesting to see. DuQuoin will play at Williamsville, and let's talk real briefly about DuQuoin. First round game, 28-25, they get the victory, and here's how it happens. Monticello, by the way, defending state champions in 3A. Monticello has the lead, 25-21, 25-22, whatever it was. And DuQuoin drives it down on them, gets a goal line opportunity, and gets stuffed. The fourth down play was a pass play that got broken up. So Monticello takes over on the 6-yard line. They run a jet sweep, lose 5 yards. They run a handoff up the middle, no gain. Quarterback sneak, no gain. Handoff, or no, I guess it was so that's second down.
You just said 3 plays.
Yeah, so I missed one there. But anyway, bottom line, they tried to hand off on third down. The ball gets stripped. DuQuoin recovers it in the end zone. Takes a 28-25 lead with under a minute to go. It's called the miracle, the DuQuoin miracle.
Yeah, what are the odds of that?
It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And if you're Monticello, what do you say to your kids? I mean, my goodness. And by the way, we got a 3-hour bus ride home or whatever it is.
Remember last year's, what city?
Man, so we've got Mount Carmel. The Aces will travel to Vandalia. That's a 6 seed versus a 3 seed. And DuQuoin will be traveling to Williamsville, a 9-1 versus a 10-0. Breeze Mater Dei we've already talked about. And then Beardstown, the number 1 seed, will travel to Quincy Notre Dame. And I'm going to argue right now that may not be a cakewalk for Beardstown. They probably haven't seen anything like that. So that'll be a lot of fun in 3A.
Quincy Notre Dame plays a heck of a schedule.
Oh boy, do they ever. In 5A, well, in 2A, I don't think we have anybody left.
I don't
correct?
believe so.
Because Redbud was defeated and Chester was defeated. So yeah, we're done. Well, and Cessa-Valier was also beaten.
Right.
So,
we're done.
Oh, wow, we are done. Because Flora was also beaten because they're technically a 6-1-8 team. So 2A, we've got nobody left. In 6A,
you skipped 5A, didn't you?
well, that was...
Oh, you didn't say that?
Oh, no, I did. You're right. I did skip 5A because that's where Triad is. So in 5A,
among others,
Rochester defeated LaSalle Peru with a running clock, 68-26, a game that I believe was...
What Buck say, 28-20 at half or something like that?
28-20 at half, and then Rochester scored 39 points in the fourth quarter, or in the third quarter. 37 points in the third quarter.
Yeah.
So whatever Derek Leonard said to them at halftime obviously worked. Highland with a monster road victory at Cahokia. We watched the last minute of that game. They had they stuffed Cahokia on fourth down. Cahokia had a 4th and 4 from about the 11-yard line.
Highland's about as hot as you can get.
On fire. Absolutely on fire. And their reward, the IHSA has given Highland a great reward. Mm-hmm. They get to play Rochester.
You're going to have to play them sometime.
So Rochester will travel to Highland. Triad didn't just beat Marion, they spanked them 55-28, a monster game for Triad. Maybe I think that's the Triad that we've sort of been waiting on. They actually threw a touchdown pass.
Stop the press.
The world stopped spinning for 5 minutes.
Well, and again, they started off the first part of the year just like Highland finished up, and then they kind of reversed their seasons. Highland started off a little slow, then got hot. Triad was hot and finished slow, and now they're back picking it up again that first game.
It's pretty exciting. That leaves us in the bottom part of that bracket. You've got a number 2 seed in Rochester traveling to Highland, a 10 seed, and then Triad with a 14 seed playing at number 11 seed Sacred Heart Griffin. Good luck, both teams, because I think Sacred Heart Griffin probably hasn't seen anybody quite like Triad, and
vice versa.
Hey, you betcha.
Another Leonard Bowl coming.
So I think in this, in the second round, I think Rochester obviously looks like the team to beat, and we're probably headed towards a possible how about this for a quarterfinal? Potentially. Rochester could play either Triad or Sacred Heart Griffin.
I just said
Leonard Bowl. Oh, you just said that. Never mind. Sorry, that was it. I didn't realize what you were saying. I thought, another Leonard Bowl, what does he mean? And I was just going to ignore that and move on.
Yeah,
you nailed it. Oh, yeah, I got the thing. Right here. Good point. We were there. In 6A, I don't think we need to talk about anybody except for East St. Louis. They destroyed Morgan Park 44-0. They will. What? Did I miss Mascuda?
Yeah.
Did you do that on purpose?
No.
That's what I thought you were doing, and so I kind of.
I thought you were gonna.
Well, wait a minute.
Gonna be the,
wait, whoa.
That was gonna
My
be-
goodness. You know why? Because it's all northern teams. They're the only team south of Peoria. Well, Mount Zion. Excuse me. Mascuda.
And you've been overwhelmingly invited to Mascuda.
And we're going to announce here in segment 3 where we're going. I'm not saying we're going to Mascuda. We're going to Mascuda. Mascuda beat Carbondale 40-28. Our own Colin Kessler was at that game.
Oh, jeez.
Your thoughts?
And first of all, the upset was predicted by us.
We nailed it. At Hopskeller Wednesday night, we both picked Mascuda to win that game.
We want credit.
And Mascuda, it kind of blew up on social media. The Mascuda fans were like, hey, the high school huddle's picking us. You know, it's awesome, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, we're kind of good at it.
Yeah.
What your thoughts? Carbondale had a great season. They were this monster. What'd you see?
Super athletic quarterback. He made a lot happen with his feet, with his legs. I think he's only a junior. So
Wow.
I mean, him coming back next year is scary. They had really athletic, really explosive wide receivers. There were a number of times. The one that stands out to me was, I want to say it was late in the third quarter. Carbondale lobbed the ball up, got it about midfield, wide receiver catches it all alone, legs out down to the 9, the Mascuda 9. But that was, what came next after that was kind of the saving point for Mascuda all game. Their defense at the 9-yard line stops them on 4 straight plays and ends up turning the ball over, and then Mascuda walked it down the field and I'm pretty sure scored.
Yeah, so there's your difference.
I mean, the Mascuda defense, there were a number of times where you thought Carbondale, was shoo-in. This is a terrible spot to be. They're going to score. They're going to score. For Mascuda to keep Carbondale at 28 for a team that coming into the postseason, their last 3 games, they'd averaged, I think it was like 56 points per game.
Right.
I mean, their defense was huge. Devin Wills putting up 3 touchdowns in the second half, including an interception that he returned. I think it was a fumble return. That was huge. And Timothy Middleton, a wide receiver for Mascuda, he was terrific, fantastic, super athletic kid. They look very. Let's put it this way: if their defense continues to play like that all postseason, I don't see why they couldn't compete with a lot of.
Kankakee, it's a long drive for Kankakee. They got to come all the way down here and play.
Right.
It's a weird start time because they're starting that game at 5 o'clock Saturday. It'll just about be dark.
Yeah.
If the Mascuda fans show up the way they did against just Triad in the regular season, which I know is a rivalry game, but that place was packed. It was nuts that night. I assume that Mascuda is going to sell out their side of the stadium. I don't know how well Kankakee is going to travel. You've got Kankakee as a 4 seed, Mascuda as a 12 seed. I don't know. We're not going to make our picks yet. We may have to do that on social media, but I'm kind of liking Mascuda.
Yeah. What's not to like?
And then if they win that, they would probably and here's the other thing. At the top of that bracket, you've got Mount Zion, undefeated, #1 team most of the season in 5A. They're playing Joliet Catholic Academy. Joliet plays a ridiculous schedule. I mean, battle-tested to say the least. Wouldn't shock me to see Joliet beat Mount Zion, and here's why I say that. Mount Zion is barely still alive in these playoffs. They beat Decatur MacArthur Saturday, 31-30 in overtime. And this is a Decatur MacArthur team that Rochester absolutely took apart. Absolutely took them apart.
Yeah.
So could it have been a situation where the kids are kind of overlooking that game?
It's possible.
Very, very possible. But a lot of fun things happening there. Right now, no offense, but I think 5A might be my favorite bracket because of what's happening. So here's what we'll do. We come back. We will talk about 6 and 8A because in 7A we don't have anybody left. And
Didn't have anybody to begin with.
We will announce, right, good point. And we will also announce where we're going. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about soccer. You can take a nap.
Okay.
And then I'll also talk about volleyball because there's some really big volleyball games taking place tomorrow night that affect area teams. You're listening to and watching the 618 High School Huddle hosted by BigRedWorld.org. You know, if you're selling your house or if you're buying a house, or if you just live in your house, which is what I do, and you see water all of a sudden in your basement ruining your things, there's only one number to call, and that's 1-800-966-2379. The professionals at B-Dry Basement Waterproofing and Foundation Repair do it better than anybody else in the area. Yes, there are other companies you can call, but nobody has the ethics and the business morals that Mark Cooper and the gang over at B-Dry do in Highland, Illinois. And nobody supports prep sports at all like B-Dry does. Go to any local event. Again, the Highland Shootout, one of the great events in our area, you'll see B-Dry Solutions very present there. So it was a natural fit for B-Dry Solutions and us. BDrySolutions.com. Check them out on the web. Foundation repair, piering, anchoring, waterproofing. They'll also put in a pool. If I get enough people to like this, I might actually be able to afford one someday. Give B-Dry a call. 28 years I've been involved in amateur baseball. At the Legion level, the youth level from 9U all the way up through 15, 16U. I've never met anybody quite like Mark Clark. Mark Clark with 21 baseball, former professional baseball player, started getting scouted when he was in 7th grade. You think he hasn't seen a few things, know a few stories? One of the things that Mark's learned over a long career is that you don't have to pay $5,000 to get great baseball instruction. The professionals at 21 baseball do it like nobody else. They're not going to tell you that little Johnny is fantastic if little Johnny's not fantastic. If you're looking for honest, hard-working, good professional help with your baseball swing or with pitching, give Mark Clark a call and he'll set you up with a lesson. He'll do a free evaluation, and if he thinks you're a good fit, he'll put you in. Call Mark Clark at 314-583-3302. 21 baseball. Nobody does it better. Welcome back to the 618 High School Huddle. We are wrapping up our football coverage for week 1 as we head into week 2. We still have to talk about 6A.
Not much to talk about.
It says right here East St. Louis won.
Next.
Well, wait a minute now. They play Rock Island.
Okay.
They're 8-2.
Okay.
And East St. Louis has to go there. That'll be a tough game.
Yeah. All right. I don't think so, but that's okay.
I'm guessing that East St. Louis only wins that game by 50.
Oh. Well, all right.
And then if they win that, then they would play most likely at home against Oaklawn Richards. That'd be a tough game. Yep. All right, East St. Louis is going to win the state title. Let's move on to 8A because we do have an 8A team still alive. Edwardsville got after it Friday night.
Set the tone for the weekend.
Oh
Friday
boy,
night.
Justin Johnson with a huge night. And here's your reward. You get to go play the number 1 team in the state.
Which is who?
Manuka. This is the team that knocked Edwardsville out of the playoffs last year in the quarterfinals game I was at. And Manuka's 10-0, number 1 team in 8A. Edwardsville has to go there.
No.
And, here's the thing. Matt Martin is a fantastic coach. He'll have his kids ready. If somehow they pull that upset, you have Chicago Brother Rice at the 24 seed and South Elgin, the 8 seed, waiting for you. If Edwardsville gets past Manuka, anything can happen.
Absolutely.
So
that's just a long bus ride and a lot to ask of some kids. It's a long bus ride.
It really is. Let's move on to soccer. This is your favorite part of the night.
Absolutely.
Alton Marquette gets the huge victory over Quincy Notre Dame Friday night in overtime. Well, in penalty kicks. Just saying. Because Scott's a big fan of penalty kicks.
Oh, yeah?
No, not really. He thinks they're stupid, and I happen to agree.
To decide a game like that, I don't think it should be penalty kicks. That's just my opinion.
Last year, and Colin, you weren't with us last year, but up in Chicago, this is the second year that Jabot competed in 2A. All 4 2A games, both semifinals and the third place game and the championship were decided by penalty kicks.
Yeah.
And that's a tough way to lose. It really is.
I get that, yeah.
So what's the answer?
Well, here's, I think, the problem that you run into, at least in my opinion. One, if you say, 2 overtime periods?
Yeah, they play 2 10s regardless of scoring.
Right.
You score 5 goals, you still have to play.
Yeah. So After those 2-10s, what's regulation? It's 30 minutes?
40.
40 minutes.
So they play 80 minutes of
80
regulation,
plus
2
20,
tens.
so
That's 100 minutes.
Right there. So let's say that you wanted to go. I think what would make a lot of sense, I guess, after those first 2 required 10s, going sudden death. That might be an answer.
I like that.
But I think the other problem that people might have with it is that after a certain point, there's only so much that an athlete can do, and your body just starts to hit that breakdown point. I get that part of that's about being in great shape, being, deserving that win. But I think some people would look at it, and I don't necessarily say I agree with this, but I think some people would look at that and say, "Well, it wasn't really. I mean, they ran themselves into the ground." Versus saying, "All right, we're both very equally matched. Let's get this on."
But how many coaches, when they get to overtime, play for the penalty kicks?
I'm sure that's
That's got to be a thing.
I can't speak to that one.
Right, so
I think it happens all the time.
So
I think you see
if
teams
you-
go into a defensive shell
yeah,
and say, you know what, we've got some really good scores, we'll go to penalty kicks.
if you implement what you're saying, and I agree with, I think you get away from some of that.
What, sudden death?
Well, so Bevel West wins state last year in basketball in overtime. Maybe we should just have a free throw contest.
Well, yeah, right, same thing.
Is it,
Right.
sort of.
Yeah, no, same thing.
Because the fact is, the really high level strikers are always going to score.
Yeah.
You've got this huge goal covered by a goalkeeper, and Connor Olson, one of the best in the state at stopping goals in a penalty kick situation. But to me, it can't come down to that much skill, right? That's what it comes down to, is who has the most skilled strikers and who has the worst goalie, if you want to say it that way. I think you play 2 10s. I'm good with that. Anybody scores, if you keep playing. I love the sudden death idea. Let's
Yeah.
play 2 more 10s of sudden death.
And then if you don't score.
And then if you don't score, you want to go penalty kicks, that's fine. You played 120
Alright,
minutes
that's
of soccer, and
if you're still even after 120
so be
minutes,
it. Then you really maybe are even.
Yeah.
But Alton Marquette gets the victory. They go to the state championship today. They take a 1-0 lead into halftime, and they give up 2 goals in the second half. They lose to Chicago University High School.
Okay.
2-1. Marquette finishes second in state. So you had Marquette winning it in 2017. Quincy Notre Dame wins it in 2018, and in 2019 Marquette finished second.
Pretty good
to
run.
me, that's a pretty good run for Alton Marquette.
Yeah.
Great run for them. Moving on to volleyball, and there's a lot at stake here as we look at tomorrow's games. Monday night's the sectional semis for everybody, and to me, for our area, everything kind of takes place at Raymond Lincolnwood, as New Athens will play Greenfield. That's the team that Jabot knocked out last year in the sectional semis. That game's at 5:30, and then the host school, Raymond Lincolnwood, will play Jabot at 6:30, and the Jabot seniors are busy. They'll be there,
Yeah.
but they're in the middle of a retreat,
Right.
and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Hopefully it's not a factor.
Oh,
I'd hate for something like that to interfere with their season.
yeah, I happen to agree with that for a lot of reasons, but I haven't talked about. I've tried to be very careful about not, right?
Disparaging.
Well, here's the thing. It's been tough for me because I have a daughter that plays on that team, and I don't want to talk about her stats or any of the. They have a great setter. It's a great team, but I'm going to stay out of it. In 2A, huge upset in the regional championship, in my opinion. Freeburg, huge win over Nashville, knocks Nashville out. Freeburg has advanced. They are at the Trenton Westland sectional semi. They will play.
Yes.
Breeze Mater Day.
Thanks for coming.
The other side of the sectional semi, Breeze Central against Pinckneyville. Team that Jabot's already beaten.
So we're looking at a modern day Breeze Central section.
Yeah, you think anybody will be at that?
Oof. Where is that at? Westland?
Westland. Yeah.
Big facility, so there'll be a
Well,
whole lot
that
of
will
people.
help. That'll help pay Brent Brady's salary.
Yeah.
because it's going to cost a lot to keep that guy around. He won't like that. I just said that, but that's okay. Moving on to 3A, and this is where I think it gets really interesting, is in 3A level, because I don't think anybody in the area has really established themselves as being kind of the team.
No.
The Waterloo High School will be hosting the sectional, and you have East St. Louis Senior playing Centralia, and I'm going to tell you about East St. Louis Senior. They have a legit Division I athlete playing on that team. They have decided to really play volleyball. They're fun to watch. They'll play Centralia, and then following that, you've got Charleston and Waterloo. Waterloo's got those sophomores. The Montgomery girls are unbelievable. A really good defensive specialist in Jesse Seidel. I think that I really like Waterloo's chances to beat Charleston. I like East St. Louis's chances to beat Centralia. You could have an East St. Louis Waterloo battle for the sectional championship in 3A. In 4A, well, it's just kind of stupid.
It's a shame they have to play this early, by the way. But it is
No, I totally agree with you. And
the 4A system.
The 4-class deal. In Altoff, you've got a team that is so special that they're technically a 2A team, right? But because of the success factor and the multiplier, what's wrong with your Wi-Fi? Come on.
Yeah, it's my Wi-Fi.
Well, you see me clicking? Here, let's do it this way. I'm sorry, folks. This is it's live radio. I got nothing.
Okay. Well, you know the game you want to talk about.
O'Fallon and Edwardsville. I mean, Altoff and Edwardsville.
There you go. What do you need that for?
Well, I wanted to see what else there was out, because Mother Macaulay's going to be in there.
Okay.
Who's only won of 107 state championships.
Right. But they're not local.
Altoff has already beaten Edwardsville early in the year. I'm picking Altoff to go to state in 4A, and don't be surprised if they make some noise. You've got Mary Wessel, an unbelievable setter who was hurt most of the year. She's back. She's healthy. Katie Waimhunter, an unbelievable hitter. Karina Gall, who I think is leading. When you put those stats out there every week, she's either number one, number two.
She's at the top. Yeah, she's close. So
it's going to be a lot of fun to see what happens with volleyball. So we got volleyball, football. We've got soccer. Edwardsville's still alive in soccer. Let's tell everybody where we're headed Saturday.
Okay.
This is your part. This is where you talk.
Any big surprise?
Well, I think it's a surprise that we're going to two places.
Yeah.
So Highland is hosting Rochester, and we're going to be there for the opening quarter.
We will be there.
We've got a tough decision to make if Highland keeps that close. Excuse me. But we're going to leave right after the first quarter. We're headed to Murfreesboro.
Looking forward to it.
All right, I'm kidding. We're not going to Murfreesboro. Where are we going?
We're going to Mascoutah.
Mascoutah! We are headed your way. We will be there by 3:30, which is when the gates open. The three of us in the same facility.
That's the first.
It's been a while.
Now,
maybe since Mascoutah, the first time.
Well, it's 'cause Colin didn't show up at a lot of the stuff. Maybe he was busy. Now, here's the deal. We've been called out
We have been.
by the athletic director. We are going to need a backdrop, much like college game day.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm going to ask. Scott.
Not me.
No, the other Scott Battis. If you will provide me with an Indian headdress, because Mascoutah's the Indians.
Yes.
No offense. Fighting Illini. You give me a headdress, and I will make my pick that day. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
They're playing Kankakee.
Yeah.
I don't know what their mascot is, and quite frankly, I don't care. I'm picking Mascoutah to win that game, but I need a headdress. I need a deal.
It'd be really ironic if Kankakee's mascot was a chief.
Or the Braves or something
Yeah.
like that.
I don't know off the
Yeah.
top of my head.
What were you saying about the Wi-Fi?
Well, we're going to find out right now. That's Kankakee Senior, is that right?
Yes.
Watch what I do here. And I know you guys love it when how do you spell that?
K-A-N.
Mm-hmm.
K-A-N, right?
No,
Is that right?
No, Kankakee. High school mascot.
Are they maroon and Columbia blue?
Columbia's blue.
Southland Athletic.
He needed the money. Yeah, nobody gets that joke except for you
Right.
and your sick, twisted mind. They are what? What are they?
Knowing the state of Illinois, it's going to be something that's probably off the beaten path.
Hey, my name is George.
Are they in the Southland Athletic Conference?
George is talking.
Yeah, that's what George finished here.
Probably can't season it as well as Chick-fil-A does. The chicken super tender.
There you go.
Honestly, the best nuggets I've ever tasted.
We couldn't ask for a better tie-in. There you go.
How good was that? It says their colors are Colombian maroon, but it doesn't say what the
K's.
The what?
K's.
The
The what?
Kankakee K's?
K-A-Y-S. K's.
Oh, that's awful. First of all, what is that? Second
what's a
of all,
K?
It is 100% in fact the Kankakee K. It's maroon and Columbia blue. A K. Let me look it up.
Comes after J.
It's gonna be a bird. I can tell you that
What?
because they have feathers in their school logo. You see that, right?
We're pretty good with logos. I don't know that I ever knew that. That's bad.
Yeah, I actually.
Oh, it says right here they're the K's. Okay.
All right. Okay, K's.
Well, here's the deal, Scott. Not you,
Yes.
the other Scott, the AD. I want a Indian
My
headdress.
name is George.
George has already spoken once. That's enough.
It's like me grilling at home. It tastes very similar to that, except the seasoning. I probably can't season it as well as Chick-fil-A.
I see
The
it.
chicken's
I'm just
super
trying to figure
tender.
it out.
Excuse me, but there's a Chick-fil-A commercial going on right now.
Sorry.
All right, so the K's are visiting the Indians. I'm asking, I want a purple and white headdress. I want it to look, Scott, not you, the other one. I want it to look kind of like this. Wait, hold on. And I also want to interview Jeff Yunker.
Okay.
One of my all-time favorite athletes, state champion at Althoff as a quarterback. Now he's at Mascoutah. Has a daughter that's a hell of a volleyball player, by the way. And we're going to talk to Jeff. He heard about our shout-out when we did the live show at Mascoutah. Anyway, to me, I think Mascoutah wins this game. I don't think there's a back in 5A like Devin Wills. If they will exploit Devin and use him and just pound the football, I like their chances.
I agree.
So-
you gotta ride the horse.
So, Colin, you are a media member.
Yeah.
Well, he is.
Right.
At Mascoutah, at the paper. What's the paper called?
Mascoutah Herald. Yeah.
The Mascoutah Herald.
By the way, we should be able to get in for 3:30, right? Don't we have any pull?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You've already set the precedence of reserving a spot for us with our own logo.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'll expect that again.
Right.
I will also. Should we send them a rider? Like, all the brown M&Ms removed. I was just thinking
Yeah.
we should have a rider,
Right.
and I would like
I
to.
don't think we're there quite yet, but
Well, that's your call. I think that Scott, we'll have him back on the air, and I want to do college game day. I want it to be like that. I'll be Lee Corso, you be Herb Street.
okay. Yeah, because we look so much alike.
He'll be, well, whatever the hell he is.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So we will see you at Mascoutah by 3:30,
Maybe sooner.
and maybe sooner. If things happen the way we think it might, we'll be there. And I expect a lot of love from the Mascoutah folks. Everybody, come out. We'll be in the parking lot right by the football field. It's going to be a lot of fun. There is nothing quite like playoff football. 44 degrees, by the way, on Saturday.
Oh, well, can we have a big barrel where we can burn wood in then?
It's going to be 34 on Friday.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. We don't do well with the heat.
no.
I mean, with the cold, excuse
Sit
me.
in the press box.
No, I don't do that. Have we ever been in a press box?
No.
You're too highbrow for that.
No, it's
No.
the other way around.
Just would rather be on the field.
Here's the deal. You watch a guy like Dave Wilhelm, and he'll run for the press box. Because, no offense, but he's kind of weak. Well, he is.
No argument.
We hang on the field, rain, snow, cold weather. Last year at Rochester, was it cold?
Oh,
The following week,
Kankakee.
we go to Kankakee. Oh my God, it was so flippin' cold
Like I
there.
said, I still haven't thawed out.
Well, they haven't seen the sun at Bishop McNamara since 1974. It's the last time the sun was there.
It's documented.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, it's kind of a fact. You can check it on Wiki.
That's crazy.
We will see you on Saturday. In between, check us out on Twitter, and we will have some giveaways. We will have some Chick-fil-A giveaways. We hope a lot of you will show up. We cannot wait to get back to Mascoutah. By far, it's been our biggest success of the year. I think that and Mater Day, kind
Right.
of close. Not Edwardsville. No, not so good. And we'll see you guys on Saturday. You've been listening and watching. Listening to and watching. Is there a better way to say that?
Probably not.
You've been tuned into.
You have been tuned into the 618 High School Huddle, hosted by BigRedWorld.org. Got an interesting question at Mater Day. One of the moms said, "Hey, how can we see this? How can we hear this?" It's very, very simple. Wherever you download podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, or if you want to go straight to our platform, Spreaker.com, just look up 618 High School Huddle. Give us a follow, give us a rating, and subscribe to the podcast. That way, every time we drop a new episode or we do something new, you'll get a notification if you choose to turn them on. Also, Twitter. We're pretty big on Twitter. That's for Scott and I. That's our big thing. It is at HS Huddle 618. At HS Huddle 618. Instagram, same thing. HS Huddle 618. And also, you can like us and follow us on Facebook. You'll get all the new notifications and all the same stuff. Follow us on social media. Help a couple of 53-year-olds figure this thing out. We want likes, we need followers, and we need retweets. Thank you very much.